All right, and I'm back. Hopefully, this is going to be the last installment here on this subject. All right, so basically, laid out my plan for just the general prediction of what we're looking at here. Like I said, hopefully, we're looking at a 24 teraflop machine with an 8-core, 16-thread processor, about 64 gigabytes of GDDR6, priced around $500. They may just break even, but this is going to give us a PlayStation 5 that's going to have a very deep well. It's going to be able to address very handedly the demand that VR places on it, 4K gaming in general, and even things like ray tracing, which I find utterly fascinating. Even at 24 teraflops, it's not exactly something I thought we'd be looking at this early. I've always taken the things that, not that the manufacturers say, but the things that the developers say. Tim Sweeney, one of the heads of Epic Games, once mentioned that 20 teraflops was where 4K gaming was truly going to begin. And this is around the time that we had like 4.5, 4.6 teraflops processors. And everybody's like, well, is 4K the future of PC gaming? And he said, you know, to truly get 4K gaming on PC, we got to be right around the 20 teraflop mark. And that's about where we're headed with the 9th gen, with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox One X. Now I know, or not the Xbox One X, the Xbox 2. Now I know with the Xbox 2, which this video really isn't about, we're looking at a 2020 release date because they very specifically said that they wouldn't be releasing a console 2 years after the Xbox One X. Not to mention, and I don't have the sales figures, so if one of you guys has the sales figures here, I do believe that as far as mid-cycle refreshes, the Xbox One X might very well be beating the PlayStation 4 Pro as far as overall sales. Like I was mentioning before, I didn't want to touch the Xbox One, but with the Xbox One X and Phil Spencer, I changed my tune. So if that's the case, that might give them an indication that the market would be willing to pay $500 and wait an extra year for an Xbox console that was more powerful than what Sony had. It might give them the competitive edge to just wait and see. Now, I do think because of Sony's strong first-party lineup, that they might actually take the gamble, especially if you're dealing with 7 nanometers. Yes, you may get a slightly better yield and slightly more power if you wait an extra year, but since their software engineers are so good, that their development studios, first-party development studios, are so good at squeezing out power, getting out a year early might actually be a benefit to them because it might help them establish themselves in the market a whole lot more and captures hearts and minds and market share. So they may stick to their guns. I know in the face of market expectations, they went ahead and put out exactly the refresh that they intended, which was the PS4 Pro. And it wasn't very well received. I still don't think it's very well received, but that's Sony for you. They develop a plan and they kind of stick to it. So I think they've learned, but also I think they might have had this whole 6-year cycle already pre-hashed, so they might actually do that. That being the case, even if it isn't as powerful as the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 could or should be, I think it will at least meet that minimum 18 to 20 teraflop performance watermark, which, if that's the case, given the fact that Sony is so good at making original IPs and just making the kind of games that a lot of us PlayStation gamers love, I think it's going to be more than adequate. Especially when you look, and that's one of the reasons why I've got AC Origins playing right now, is so you can see all the detail, all the intricacy that you see in this world in what's very close to 4K. I'm not entirely sure if it's native 4K or if it's 3.44K or if it's 3.2K, which I think is what 1800p is. So having said that, I almost invite PlayStation 4 in 2019. It's just a little less that we have to wait, and it's going to do a great job. If they decide to put it out later, even better, because that just means we're going to have a deeper well, and I'll get into that a little later. So that's basically that from a hardware perspective. And so I guess I'll go ahead and get into what I consider the deep well. And that is, the more that your hardware is advanced, the greater tools you have to work with, the more you're able to get out of it, and the longer it's going to take you to get something out of it. So we're starting to see games. I know God of War 4 should be an amazing game. For me, Horizon Zero Dawn, and even something like, Uncharted, Lost Legacy, were games that really pushed the PS4 hardware to some incredible heights. AC Origins on the Xbox One X is an absolutely amazing game. And while it's not a next-gen game by any stretch of the imagination, for me, it made me feel like I was doing something that I'd never been able to do before. So basically, the deep well is, the more advanced your hardware gets, the more time and effort it takes to get the most out of it. But also, the bigger gain you're going to get when you do finally master it. So when we first get our first games on the 9th gen, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox 2, they're going to be 4K. Some, even a lot of games that haven't classically been 60 frames a second, will be 4K 60 frames a second, because the design paradigms, and you guys will have to excuse me, I'm going to pause it here to get a drink of water. Okay, so the design paradigms are going to be relatively similar. Yes, there will be enhancements. I know a game like Cyberpunk 2077 is going to have a meta AI much higher than the version for the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One X. But aside from games like that, they're not really going to be too much different, because the time just hasn't been there to really learn. Now, they may be getting development kits, and they may be getting development kits that are almost as powerful as what the target hardware is, but that doesn't mean they know how to use it. And it's an iterative process as far as going from title to title that makes a design studio, a game studio, better and better at making a game. So what I'm getting at is, much like games early on in the PlayStation 3 looked so much different than the games in the later parts of the PlayStation 3, so did the games early on in the PlayStation 4 to the games that are going to be coming later on. And that gap actually gets bigger and bigger. So if you think about it, you're going to potentially have games early on in PlayStation 5 that are specifically for the PlayStation 5 and not cross-gen, that are going to look like they're a generation behind the games designed for the PlayStation 5, let's say 5 years after the platform launches. So that's basically that. That's going to allow you to have a longer generation where you consistently have more and more gains. And I think that's such a wonderful thing. Every year or every month, you have so many more options available to you on the same piece of hardware that you initially purchased, where not just the visuals, but the design paradigms continue to change more and more and more. and you don't have to consistently buy a new piece of hardware. Because when you do that, it takes away the incentive for game developers to get better and better. Not to mention, when we finally do get a PlayStation 6 or an Xbox, whatever it's going to be called, you want it to really be that much more advanced. Maybe we'll get true ray tracing. Maybe by then we'll have those AI systems that will be able to create just living worlds within it. Maybe they'll be fundamentally built from the ground up to take advantage of things like cloud computing, especially by the time the PlayStation 6 or the 10th gen is out. That might be a case. But it's going to take time. It's going to take longer and longer because the Moore's Law is slowing down. So for me, what makes the most sense is paying the $500 in 2020 for a PlayStation 5 and not having to worry about it till 2028. And by then, we'll have a 200 teraflop machine. There'll have to be discrete CPUs and discrete GPUs because I don't think we can get anything past 3 nanometers, but you never know. Some people are saying that 5 nanometers may be the practical limit, so who knows. In any case, I'm very, very excited. I do want to make one more video, but I'm not going to make it today. I'm running out of daylight. But anyways, you guys rate, comment, subscribe, and we'll be in touch. Bye-bye.